Chris with T3 Medias, and I'm going to give you a straight up warning right now. This episode of the binge or this review, I don't know what to call these sometimes, because I really technically didn't really binge anything. This wasn't really like a series, but it still was on Netflix. It still was streamed, so it's still technically, the binge is for when you straight up watch a new show on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or whatever, and you kill it right there on the spot. That's a binge to me. I don't care if it was 5 minutes. So I just got through binging the triumphant return of Dave Chappelle to a higher, caliber of a stage. I'll just put it that way, because he never really went anywhere. He's been doing stand up throughout this whole hiatus or whatever, while he was underground, letting all these other guys come up. But it was good to see him on a stage that fit his talent and his popularity. Right off the bat, I'm going to also give you another warning. This is going to be a rated mature kind of a review, all right? Get to the binge, Chris. All right. I'm glad you guys asked, because I know you've been waiting for me to review this one. This was a killer show, man. It felt like he was on HBO again or whatever. But like I said before, Netflix has been killing it with these comedians, and they've just been killing it overall. They've been setting the bar, and then they reset it, and they reset it, and they reset it, and they reset it, and it just gets higher and higher. His Morgan Freeman voiced over a little thought process, and he was mentally preparing himself as a comedian, getting himself ready to take the stage and whatnot. You saw a little flash of Trump. You saw a lot of things with the women's movement, and this in general, just a lot of things, this crazy stuff that's been going on in the world, and he just absorbs it all and just shutters up and then goes up on stage, and now it's time for him to take all of that he has absorbed and give it to the world. So he comes off firing, just smoking hot with jokes about the LAPD and taking that a breathalyzer for a friend that was supposed to be his designated driver. And being a celebrity, you get that one cop that'll be like, hey, he's drunk. He said he was driving for you. We can't give you your keys, but you blow into this you blow into the breathalyzer deal, and if you pass, I'll give you the keys. Like you hear about that stuff all the time. Cops get starstruck too, and I'm sure in LA it happens a lot. And chances that they would never give anybody, he gave them and things like that. Then he goes into this 4-part or 3-part, I think it was 3-part deal about O.J. Simpson. And not only does he stay on the topic of O.J. Simpson, he gets on it, jumps off of it, and he has a bunch more sprinkled out throughout the whole thing. I've never seen him do that before. And that was kind of funny how out of nowhere, he starts talking about O.J. Simpson. The first joke was when he was 18 years old. He met O.J. Like, he knew for a fact that O.J. didn't know who he was and whatnot. He got backstage to go meet OJ and saw his wife there. His wife gave him a big, encouraging embrace, and was, according to Chappelle, was like, you're doing great in the world. I hope and wish nothing but good things for you. And the hug kind of lasted too long, and in his mind he was thinking, bitch, you trying to get us killed? And everybody took that in like, oh, and right there was when Chappelle checked the audience. And I like that comedians that do this. Bill Maher's doing this a lot too, especially when you're talking to a liberal crowd. Like, man the fuck up, okay? If you're gonna start off with the awes and stuff right here, right, get ready, because this was the setup, all right? You ready? You better. This is the wind up. The pitch is coming. Very controversial thing to say, but a couple years later, things after he has, like I say, he has this unique ability to take something that's like it's very hard to laugh at and very serious when it's fresh, but even when it's fresh or a little bit after it's fresh, If there's a certain time that a comedian's allowed to touch on a touchy subject, Chappelle can probably bypass that for about a year or a couple of months or whatever and get there first. He's allowed to a little bit, and I feel that about him. He knocked it out the park when he made that little jab at Key and Peele. You know what I'm saying? He's been sitting there. He's like, have you seen? I mean, talking about boycotting stuff. I mean, I've been at home for the past 10 years watching Key and Peele, run my show and stuff, and the crowd popped really hard on that joke. LGBTQ community, and he's talking about what the Q kind of stands for, and he compared it to like guys in prison who when you go out there, he's like, I'm not gay. I mean, I'm just sucking all this just to pass the time, kind of a thing. It was kind of a was a bad impression by him. He goes into the transgenders and how that community or gay community is compare themselves to the black community on the struggles on civil rights and stuff like that. And he was like, man, he felt like the transgender community is beating the black community in the discrimination Olympics. It was funny. It's like, we got to get these numbers up. All this equal rights stuff and all this stuff that's happening now. He says, you think about World War II. And he gave us a little history lesson. So you got World War II, where you had black soldiers going to Europe and being able to get a lot of women, white women, all kinds of different races and whatnot, and be treated like in a certain type of way, and then come back home, getting put back to the back of the bus. And you're like, man, you look around, you're getting more money than you've ever had in your life. You got all this money in your pocket. You was getting brain for a candy bar overseas, and now you got to come back and you're getting, stuff like that. And then a couple of years later, in the 60s, and then during that time, while the men were out fighting, the women were working and whatnot, and doing all the heavy lifting here, and proving that a woman can do what a man can do. And that's why, like, later down the line, you'll a woman, you would come home, and then all of a sudden now you would hear a woman say something that probably wasn't that widely said back then, which is something I hear a lot too. If I say the wrong thing, especially if I say the wrong thing to the right or the wrong woman, and then you'll hear, no, you shut the fuck up, and I don't feel like it. And I thought that was brilliant. It was funny how you wrapped it up, and he kind of pinpointed exactly when that stuff started happening, and how assassinations, the government was seeing a lot of, in the country was seeing a lot of assassinations happening in the 60s, Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and then people who weren't even that famous, getting assassinated. Everybody who stood up, and they got assassinated out in the 60s, and then came the next big punch. When you getting all this, his opinion of how the world changed in that amount of time that was forming and shaping what we see the world it is today. But during this time, Bill Cosby was raping, he said, like 54 women, and putting up, he compared it to like sports stats. This woman was arguing about women's rights, and in his mind, he's like, how is anybody gonna tell any black man of a certain age, try to school them on discrimination, which I thought was another brilliant way to put it. And again, stop being so politically correct and being the word police, and just overall know your audience. And he compared the whole thing, or the issue about Bill Cosby, and comparing him to like chocolate ice cream. Like, if you found out that chocolate ice cream was accused of a heinous crime like rape or murder or something like that, and you're like, what? But I like chocolate ice cream. Personally, what I remember thinking to myself after that whole thing broke down was the fact that, Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable. So all the positive things about the Cosby Show, and it's something I learned again on this comedy special, that he hired psychologists to make sure that this was a TV show that didn't put African Americans or black people in any kind of a negative light, as far as like always being the villain mostly and whatnot, and things like that. That was happening a lot on television, especially even in the 80s and whatnot. And he was smart about designing the show around that. And it's hard to be a person of a certain age, or if any age. I mean, and he compared it to finding out like 50 years from now, that finding out that your favorite comedian like Kevin Hart was accused of the same exact thing, and now he's able to put the kids and get a younger audience and give them some kind of a perspective. But it's kind of a different thing nowadays, because people are quick to just, I think because of the internet age, throw people under the bus quicker, troll, comment, and stuff like that. So it was a good reference, and I knew what he was talking about because I did the same thing. I think about everything I was seeing on the news with Bill Cosby, and not liking it and hating it because what he did to those women I don't care if it's still allegedly or not. I mean, come on, there's too many accusations for it to all be false. But I keep thinking on the other side of my brain. I was like, dang, the Cosby Show. Not only that, it's because of the fact that the other actors from that show now are also now being hurt by that, by these things that he did. He said that show was heavily syndicated and being repeated a lot around the world, and now it's like light switch cut off. And so that means so you're doing that so you could hurt Bill Cosby, but you also got to remember you're also hurting those other actors who had nothing to do with it. But that's just the way it is, you know. Pacquiao, he talked about that too. Pacquiao said what he said about the gay community. Nike took his shoes. So I like Dave Chappelle because he's still got it. He's still able to talk about some heavy stuff and get on it. Again, guys, this is the binge. So if you didn't watch before you watch this review, hey, me spoiling it like right now is not gonna hurt it because that's Chappelle, man. That's just the way the game goes. You can watch. This is something you can watch over and over again. I don't know if I'm between a 4 and a 5. So you know me. If I'm between something, I'm gonna go to the low. I'm gonna say it's a 4. I'm say it's a 4 out of 5. His other stuff was funnier, I think, but this was it was funny. It damn wish it was funny. Maybe tomorrow I'll change my mind. I'm gonna watch it. It's definitely rewatchable. So definitely. Watch it again, guys, because again, this is a binge. You should not have watched this, and then you think you're gonna go watch the review. This is good. You only watched this because you were curious about my review. And if you like my review, hit the like button. If you want to become a subscriber, become a subscriber, and tell me what you guys think. Put it in the box and let us know what you guys are all thinking about. Because hey, we love talking about this stuff. At the end of it, when he left the show, he comes back and he talks about O.J. Simpson again and meeting him. It was way after the trial and all that stuff, and he's at a restaurant with Chris Tucker. He said it's like seeing him and Chris Tucker in the place together when everybody was thinking these guys were probably dead. It was like seeing Bigfoot ride a unicorn. I thought that was pretty funny. And then at this point, O.J. Simpson wasn't all smug about it and being like, you know, good luck, young man, and all that stuff. And you know, he knew where he was in life. He was begging them, hey, let's get a picture all together. Let's get a picture together. And Chris Tucker and Dave Chappelle were like, I don't think our careers can survive do a comeback or a bounce back after that. It's like, nah, we cool. We don't need a picture with you, Juice. Yeah, have a good one. Bye-bye.